Good morning, everybody. Happy Monday. I hope you all had a fantastic weekend. This weekend I was in Houston for a workshop on cranials, a 16-hour workshop, more hands-on with cranials. You guys know I love to go and learn and just expand my little toolbox. And one of the demonstrations he was doing, I love it because I use it in my office all the time. And so if you've been in our office, you've probably seen me do this demonstration for you. But I realized I've never done a Facebook Live on it. So if you've ever heard me talk about the Dura, and I know I've talked about it before many, many times, but think of Dura as saran wrap that goes around the brain and the spinal cord. And so it has attachments within the head, so within the skull, upper neck, and then it also has attachments lower, like sacrum. So think top and bottom is where it's attached at, okay? So if you have, so say this is your Dura. This is a little towel in the office. I have blankets in every room, so I use them to demonstrate this all the time, especially with little ones. If we are doing scans, right, with our little ones, and if there's this counter torque going on, this is what I often will tell parents, and I'll show them, like say this is your Dura, and it attaches at the top and the bottom. If there is counter torque going on, there's always going to be an apex, like a spot right in the middle, right? And so this is why, you guys, I do a lot top and bottom, because you have to address that torque. If I were to go in there and simply just hit on that every single time and try and adjust right there in that mid back in that apex, and I'm not dealing with the torque on the top and the bottom, it's not going to do anything. And if I get the torque on the top and the bottom, but I don't get the spot in the middle, muscle has memory. We have to break up that muscle memory, because it's almost like, say this towel was wet and you froze it, and as you go like that, you're still gonna have those wrinkles in there. So it's really important for us to get the top and the bottom, that counter torque. And that counter torque, you guys, that can lead to things like the head tilt. That can be why a child gets a lot of ear infections. A lot of times why they're doing arching. Arching of the back is a huge one. So if I were to go and just simply only be addressing this middle part all the time, right? Because arching, everybody thinks middle back, middle back. And yes, it's gonna need to be addressed, but what do we need to get at first? The other thing too is realize, and this could be your pattern as an adult too. We see that a lot. Symptoms are wide ranging, anything, X, Y, Z, just fill in the blank, right? And so, this is also why I'm not going to sit there and, like, if I were to sit there and adjust 1, 2, 3, those two at the top made no difference. It did not change a pattern. It didn't cause that counter torque to get any better. It also didn't go at the apex of like where that torque is actually happening. So sometimes you may think, oh, that adjustment felt really good, but it didn't make any difference to your system. The other thing too is we cannot overload a system. And I tell parents this all the time. Like if I'm adjusting your kid, I might do 2, 3 adjustments is the most I ever do. You do not want to overload their nervous system. It is far better for us to do fewer adjustments on each visit and see them more often than to overload that system, because it's not going to make the changes that we want it to make. That's too much input to the brain and doesn't know what to do with it. So remember that counter torque, like that's why we're doing our scans. We can actually show you, we can show how patterns are breaking up, but it gives us more of an idea of like, if it's not, where else do we need to go? Because there's a primary area that we're missing and we need to look deeper, a lot of times more into that cranial area and get something to release within the head, and then the rest can start to unwind. But super important that you guys know that, like, this is why we do the scans. This is why I do so much training with cranials. This is why I'm only adjusting a few areas on a visit, even a lot of times with some of you adults. Like, we do not want to overload that system, and that torque is seriously the worst thing for your nervous system. That's what it hates the most. So we got to make sure that we're addressing that, and we have to make sure that our adjustments are specific and to the primary areas. Otherwise, I mean, you get the release of endorphins and you feel really good, like when you hear the crack and pop, right? Everybody wants that when they're getting adjusted, but that doesn't mean that anything happened. So what I want to do is make sure that we're actually doing what we need to do, getting your body to function better, not that you just get like this pop and release and you're like, oh, it feels so good, great, you released endorphins. That's all we're doing, unless we're on those primary areas. So Hope you guys found it interesting. Remember, that's all with the Dura. So if you had a tongue or lip tie, if you had that revised, we already know that there's some stress in that Dura. That's one of the things you want to look for. You want to make sure, for us, that we're looking for is to make sure that we get more of that tension released in that Dura. So anybody can benefit from this, you guys, adults and infants alike. It's just a huge demonstration that I use every single day in my office, and I thought I'd share it with you guys here on social media. So hope you have an awesome week. We'll talk to you guys again soon. Bye.